Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Baelish.
And I'm Veronica Castro. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
It may be a holiday week, but many city services and employees are still hard at work.
Here to talk more about a wide range of issues in the city of Santa Monica is Mayor Kevin McKeown. Welcome back to Studio 16.
Well, it's great to be back and to be back on this holiday week to celebrate all the stuff that's happening in this town. We've had a very exciting year.
Big year.
A lot to be grateful for.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And now last time you were here, we talked about one of Council's priorities, which was affordable housing and inclusion. Now let's talk about a different priority for Council, which is mobility. What is the Council doing and why did they select mobility to focus on?
Well, as far as why we selected, how was your drive in today?
It was great.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that's not what I hear from most people.
Right.
I think one of the main things we council members hear from members of the public is frustration with the amount of traffic in Santa Monica. And there's argument over what the reason for the amount of traffic is. It might be too much local development. It might be regional activity that we can't control. It might be the lack of a meaningful mass transit system. I think that's a big part of it for Santa Monica. But it is the issue practically on the top of everybody's mind because we all deal with it. Now, to be honest, when people get most frustrated about traffic, almost invariably, it's because they're behind the wheel themselves at that moment. They're creating the traffic as well as participating.
That's right.
So one of the secrets, I think, and one of the reasons why we chose mobility as a theme, as one of our priorities, is we have to look at ways to get people to use multimodal options of transportation. A car is only one way to get from point A to point B. We have a wonderful big blue bus. We now have the bike share system. We're going to have Expo in a very short time. So we need to start to rethink how people get around within our town. Those errands that we take every day don't always require a car, and that's that much less traffic on the road. Likewise, our schools are an issue. Picking up and dropping off students is a big part of the traffic in the morning and about 3 o'clock every afternoon. If you try to get anywhere close to school in town at that time of day, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we're working on safe routes to school. That's another way to reduce the amount of traffic.
That's great. You know, there's so much going on right now as far as alternate modes of transportation in Santa Monica. So excited that the Breeze Bike Share just launched. What are your hopes for this spectacular program?
Every time I go by one of the Breeze bike hubs with those green bikes, it puts a big smile on my face.
Me too.
And I've been grinning a lot because there are 75 of those hubs around the city now. So for the first time, people have the option, without having to pull their own bike out of the garage, to on the spur of the moment, grab a bike and take a ride. Now, during the pilot program, we discovered that the average ride was just over a mile in about 15 minutes. These are the types of errands I was talking about that we all make every day that don't require a car. And with the Breeze bike, you have a basket, so you can pick up whatever you're doing. If you decide not to take a bike back, you have that option. If you bring your own bike, you got to come back home, right? Even if it's uphill. With a Breeze bike, you can ride the downhill leg and take the bus back if you want to be lazy. So there are lots of options that become available to people we didn't have before we had bike share, and where it's going to really pay off is with Expo coming to town. Because the whole point of Expo is not to use your car, but to get to the station, you have to perhaps travel as much as a mile. What's more perfect for that, for many people, than a bike? Now, I recognize that not everybody is going to ride a bicycle, and that's fine. Everybody doesn't have to. If we got 10% of the cars off the road, the traffic in this town would be transformed.
Yes.
And bike share is one of the elements we're using to help accomplish that.
Well, some residents say that they're concerned with some of the hubs in residential neighborhoods that it'll bring more people into the residential areas of town. But who are the bikes really for?
Well, the bikes are for residents as much as for anybody else. I mean, obviously they'll be used by visitors. And the hubs in the neighborhoods are not there to be destinations. Frankly, there's little reason for a visitor to come into a hub in a neighborhood. They're there for the people who live in the neighborhood. So for instance, I now have a hub half a block from my house, which is wonderful. So if I want to ride down to City Hall, I can ride down to City Hall. There's a hub at City Hall. If I want to go to the beach, there's a hub at the beach. When I want to come back, I can park it in my neighborhood if I want to. I don't see that as being a negative. I think it as being a wonderful positive. And it's a real indication of the fact that we mean for these bikes to be used by residents, and that's why we put the hubs in the neighborhoods.
Now, the Breeze Bike Share program is going to take people to public transit, like the big blue bus that you mentioned, the new Expo light rail that's going to open in the spring. How is that going to change the way that people get around in our city?
Well, I think we all have to stop thinking about the only mobility tool you have being your car keys. The truth is you have multiple mobility tools now in Santa Monica. You have that tap pass that's good on the Big Blue bus and the Expo. You have your Breeze bike share membership that lets you get on the bike. And it may take multiple things in multiple situations to be most flexible and have it be most appropriate for what you're doing on that particular day. All we can do, and what we're trying very hard to do, is to give people choices. Until the last few years in Southern California, because of the historic land use policies and the lack of mass transit, we didn't have a choice. If you wanted to go more than a few blocks, you had to hop in your car. Well, in Santa Monica, we're setting a new policy that no, you have multimodal options, and you will going forward now in Santa Monica.
That's great.
We also got to look at the draft pedestrian action plan. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's a very exciting document. I brought it with me here. It's a book, you know.
Wow.
3/7 thick. So there's a lot of stuff in here. But let me just talk about the themes and what it is that we're trying to do here. First of all, we're acknowledging that walking is a part of our lifestyle here in Santa Monica. We're a very walkable town. We always have been. People love to walk in Santa Monica. In fact, when tourists come to Santa Monica, one of the things that they comment on is how much fun it is to walk around this town.
Right.
So we want to focus on that. We also want to make sure that pedestrians are safe. Now, we've adopted a policy called Vision Zero. And that is the idea that all of our traffic policies should aim at nobody ever getting hurt. 0 accidents, 0 injuries. Unachievable, of course, in reality, but as a goal, as a policy, that's what we've adopted. We're trying to make the connections that I was talking about a moment ago between different modes of transportation in different places and remove the obstacles. There are places in town it's very difficult to walk. I just had a conversation yesterday with a young mother who lives near 23rd Street and Hill about how her elementary school daughter is afraid to cross 23rd Street. With reason. The traffic is heavy and moving fast. Those sorts of impediments to being able to be a pedestrian have to be removed if we're going to become a successful walking city. And then the last idea is that we're all responsible for our behavior on the streets. We're moving toward what are called shared streets, where we have bicycles, pedestrians, and cars and buses, all, and now the Expo, all using the street. That means we all have to look out for each other. It means when you're a pedestrian, you look out for cars and bikes. When you're on a bike, you're careful about pedestrians. And of course, you know, you're outweighed by cars. You better look out for cars when you're on a bike. As a driver, I need to be more responsible. I need to be more aware of what's around me. I need to make sure that my street speed is appropriate for that street and for the conditions and the other people sharing the street. So the pedestrian action plan will also include education on how we can best be responsible in our use of the streets.
This is a beautiful document. Can our viewers get their hands on one of these?
This
Can they
right
see
now
this, or?
is a draft.
Oh, okay.
Hold it up so people can see it. It's available online. So if you go to the city website at smgov.net, it's a pretty large PDF, but it is there as a PDF. And I think people will find it's pretty interesting reading. It's quite a visionary look at how we will move into the 21st century and move away from the 20th century automobile-centric Southern California lifestyle that has plagued us for so long.
Mayor McKeown, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here, and thanks for coming to Studio 16.
Well, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, where we post about all of the fun and important events happening in our city. #Santa Monica Weekly.